Hello students, I am VLN Swarupini, lecturer from Sri Venkateswara College of Arts and Sciences, which is affiliated to Adikavi Nannaya University, Rajahmundry. Now I would like to discuss about the topic translation, and this particular topic is present in the unit 2 of 6th paper of biochemistry students. So let's start the topic translation. So in the earlier classes we have discussed about other topics like transcription, translation, uh, and the factors related to transcription. So now let's see about this translation. Okay, so here the protein synthesis, which involves the translation of nucleotide base sequence of mRNA into the language of amino acids. So it is nothing but the process of protein synthesis in which translation of nucleotide base sequences, and in this translation what happens, protein synthesis will be carried. Protein synthesis or translation process, both are the similar. Okay, so here this protein synthesis, what will happen, it involves the translation of nucleotide base sequence which are present on the mRNA, and this mRNA is produced from transcription from DNA. So this particular mRNA is converted into amino acids based on the nucleotide base sequence present on that particular mRNA. Okay, and protein biosynthesis will involve different stages like requirement components, activation of amino acid, protein biosynthesis proper, chaperones and protein folding, post-translational modifications. Okay, now let's see about requirements of the components. So generally this particular translation requires ribosomes, amino acids, mRNA, tRNA, rRNA, and also some enzymes, energy sources, and translational factors. So these are all the important components essential for the translation process. Okay, so what is this translation? It is nothing but the conversion of the base sequence of mRNA into amino acid sequence of proteins. Okay, so finally protein will be synthesized. That's why we call it as protein synthesis. Okay, and now let's see in detail about this requirements. Okay, first one is amino acids. So these amino acids are the basic units of proteins. These are the basic units of proteins, and these proteins are nothing but the polymers of amino acids. Okay, these are as these amino acids are the basic units of proteins. These proteins are the polymers of amino acids. Okay, 20 amino acids were found in the protein structure, and half of the amino acids can be synthesized by the organisms. Okay, as amino acids, based on their essentiality, those are differentiated into essential and non-essential amino acids. So non-essential amino acids will be produced in our body. Okay, and essential amino acids are the amino acids which we should take through our diet. Okay, so here our body will produce half of the amino acids required for the protein synthesis. Okay, so half of the amino acids will be provided by our body itself, and the remaining amino acids should be given through external diet. Okay, and those amino acids are non-essential, and if non-essential amino acids are not given properly, what will happen? So the proteins which require these non-essential amino acids will not be synthesized properly. So that means protein synthesis will not be proper, will not occur properly. Okay, so these can be synthesized by the organism and they are non-essential, and rest of the amino acid have to be provided through diet. Protein synthesis can occur only when all the amino acids needed for a particular protein are available. Obviously, whenever the amino acids are present, then only these will be uh, synthesized. Okay, so by lack of non-essential essential amino acids, the protein synthesis will not be seen. Okay, and the next one is ribosomes. So ribosomes, if you see about ribosomes are essential for the translation process. Okay, so these ribosomes contains two subunits. Okay, two subunits, and both the subunits will bind to the mRNA, and these will help the binding of other translational factors or initiation factors and all, and these ribosomes will help in the translation process. Okay, so the functional ribosomes have two sides. Okay, that means in any of the one subunit, majorly on the larger subunit of ribosomes, that means obviously these ribosomes are made up of majorly two subunits. So one of the subunit will contain two sides. Okay, two sides, A side and P side, and this will cover both subunits. Okay, and A site is for binding the amino acid RNA or acceptor site. So A site is called as acceptor site, and it will help in the binding of amino acid RNA. Okay, amino acid RNA. And next one is P site. Next one is P site, and this P site is called as donor site, and it will help in the binding of peptidyl tRNA. Okay, and in eukaryotes another site additional to this A site and P site are present, that is E site. Okay, and this is helpful in the removal of deacylated tRNA, in the removal of deacylated tRNA. Okay, so here mRNA is the next essential component required for the translation process. Here the specific information required for the synthesis of a given protein is present on the mRNA. So here the specific information required for the synthesis of a given protein is present on the mRNA. So this mRNA is the major base for the protein synthesis. So based on the sequences present on this particular mRNA only, protein will be synthesized. Okay, and the DNA has passed on the genetic information in the form of codons to mRNA to translate into a protein. Okay, so the genetic information which is carried from DNA through mRNA, that means mRNA is synthesized from DNA by translation process, and during this process The genetic information present in the DNA is carried on to mRNA, and that particular genetic information which is carrying this mRNA, which is carrying this genetic information, will be passed on to the protein, and for the furtherly for the protein expression, this particular genetic information from DNA is transported through mRNA, from DNA to mRNA and mRNA to protein. Okay, so this mRNA acts like a intermediate messenger between DNA and protein. Okay, coming to tRNA, they carry the amino acids and hand them over to the growing peptide chain. They will hand them over to the growing peptide chain. Okay, this tRNA will help in the giving of this amino acid to the peptide chain. Okay, the amino acid is covalently bound to tRNA at the 3' end. Okay, each tRNA has 3 nucleotide base sequences, that is anticodon, which is responsible to recognize the codon of mRNA for protein synthesis. Okay, so here the amino acids, and these amino acids will covalently bound to the tRNA. So this will transport this amino acids onto the newly synthesized peptide chain. Okay, so this will covalently bound to tRNA at the 3' end, and each tRNA has 3 nucleotide base sequences, that is the anticodon, which is responsible to recognize the codon of mRNA for protein synthesis. Okay, if you see the diagram of tRNA, it consists of 5 arms: acceptor arm, D arm, anticodon arm, T sigma C arm, and variable arm. Okay, so this is about tRNA. And this, if you see in this tRNA, this particular tRNA is double stranded. Okay, it is double stranded, and it contains this is the clover leaf model of tRNA, in which it contains a loop and a stem. Okay, so the circles or the round shape is called as a loop, and the remaining double stranded structure is termed as stem. Okay, if you see variable arm, here loop is not absent in the variable arm. Okay, so this particular tRNA will be folded to form this clover leaf model of tRNA. Okay, and now let's see about energy source. So as this is also a biological reaction in our body, this protein synthesis is also a biological reaction, and obviously it requires some amount of energy. Okay, so here what is the energy source means both ATP and GTP will act as energy source. Both ATP and GTP are required for supply of energy in protein synthesis. Okay, and here till now we discussed only the requirements. So here the first step of translation is nothing but activation of amino acids. Okay, in translation, first step is activation of amino acids. So it is done in 2 steps. Okay, this activation process of amino acid for translation is a 2-step reaction. So in the first step, what happens means amino acyl AMP complex will be formed, and in second step amino acyl tRNA will be formed. So that means, as discussed earlier about tRNA, what we discussed, it will transfer the amino acid. So this particular amino acyl tRNA is formed for the transportation of this amino acid to the new polypeptide chain. Okay. So here if you see this activation of amino acids are attached to tRNA in two-step reaction, and amino acyl tRNA synthesis catalyzes reaction. Amino acid is first attached to the enzyme utilizing ATP to form EAMP amino acid complex, which is transferred to the 3' end of tRNA to form amino acyl tRNA. Okay. As these amino acids are the building blocks of proteins, these are present in the cytoplasm and they are activated before transported to the ribosomal surface of tRNA. Okay, so these will be transported with the help of this tRNA onto the ribosomal surface of the ribosomal surface. Okay, and the amino acids are activated by ATP with the help of enzyme amino acyl tRNA synthetase. So here amino acyl tRNA synthetase is the enzyme which will help the transfer of this amino acids onto the ribosomal surface by utilizing ATP. And the enzymes are specific in activating each amino acid, and each amino acid will have a specific enzyme. Okay, that means as there are 20 amino acid, each and every amino acid will have different amino acyl tRNA synthetase. Okay, so here these enzymes are specific for those particular amino acids. Okay, and these 20 amino acids will attach to 20 different tRNAs. Okay, so here there will be specificity for both enzyme and for the tRNA. Okay, and if you see the activation as discussed earlier, in the first step what will happen, amino acid will react with the ATP molecule. If you see the reaction here, amino acid will react with one ATP molecule to form amino acyl AMP complex. Okay, and the enzyme in this particular reaction is amino acyl tRNA synthetase. Amino acyl tRNA synthetase will convert amino acid and with the help of ATP into amino acyl AMP complex. Okay, and amino acyl AMP plus tRNA. So that means in the first step, this particular amino acyl AMP complex produced will be converted into amino acyl tRNA. During this, amino acyl group will be transferred from the enzyme bound amino acyl AMP into its corresponding specific tRNA. So in this way amino acyl tRNA will be produced. Okay, so if amino acyl tRNA is produced, now amino acid is activated and attached to the tRNA. Now it is ready for the transportation onto the ribosomal surface and initiation process will start. Okay, so next step is protein synthesis proper. This is nothing but the process of translation which involves these stages: initiation, elongation and termination is collectively called as protein synthesis proper. Okay, If you see initiation here, it is not done in a single step. Okay, it is also, it will it this initiation will be achieved by series of interactions. Okay, so here for initiation purpose, it requires ribosomal dissociation and formation of 43S pre-initiation complex and formation of 48S initiation complex and formation of 80S uh, ribosome. Okay, so by these four steps, this particular initiation will be carried. Okay, initiation will be carried. And here acquired complex involves at least 10 eukaryotic initiation factors. We simply call them as EIFs. Okay, so this initiation process requires at least 10 eukaryotic initiation factors. Now let's see how these initiation factors will be utilized in the translation process. So as I discussed earlier, this initiation process requires four steps, that is ribosomal dissociation, formation of 43S pre-initiation complex, formation of 48S initiation complex and formation of 80S complex. Okay, so first one is ribosomal dissociation. In this, for the binding of mRNA, to facilitate the binding of mRNA, this particular ribosomal subunits will be separated. Okay, as this ribosome consists 40S and 60S subunits, that means here 80S ribosomes are present, and these 80S will contain 40S and 60S subunits, and these two subunits will be separated to to keep these 40S and 60S subunits separate. These eukaryotic initiation factors will be used. So let's see how these are dissociated and how furtherly this dissociation is maintained for the initiation process of this particular mRNA. Okay, and here firstly two initiating factors, that is EIF3 and EIF1A, EIF3 and EIF1A. So these are the two important eukaryotic initiation factors, and this will bind to the 40S subunits and will block its reassociation with the 60S subunits. That means firstly these will act as separating components. Okay, so immediately after binding to the 40S subunit, they'll block the reassociation with the 60S subunit, so that this 60S subunit cannot bind to the 40S subunit. Okay, so in the first step what happens, these ribosomal dissociation will be seen. It is nothing but separation of 60S and 40S subunits with the use of eukaryotic initiating factors EIF3 and EIF1A. Okay, EIF3 and EIF13. And in the second step what happens, formation of 43S pre-initiation complex, formation of 43S pre-initiation complex. Okay, here a complex containing methionine tRNA. So here why methionine means, this methionine is coded with triplet codon AUG, which is the initiation codon. So this will AUG will code to methionine, and this AUG is considered as the initiation factors, and every mRNA will start up with this initiation codon, that is AUG. So that's why here we'll take methionine tRNA, and this eukaryotic initiation factor 2 will bind to ATP and attaches to 40S ribosomal unit to form 43S pre-initiation complex. So what happens here? The this eukaryotic initiation factor 2 will bind to GTP, and this eukaryotic initiation factor 2 and GTP will attach to the 40S subunit of ribosome, forming it a 43S pre-initiation complex. Okay. And the next step is formation of 48S initiation complex. So in this next step, the binding of mRNA to 43S pre-initiation complex will result in the formation of 48S initiation complex. So what will happen here? Whatever the 43S pre-initiation complex produced in the previous step, to this particular subunit, this mRNA will come and bind, and by binding of this mRNA to 48S pre-initiation complex, this particular 48S initiation complex will be formed. Okay, by the attachment of mRNA to 43S pre-initiation complex, 48S initiation complex will be produced, and here this involves certain interactions between eukaryotic initiation factors and also activation of mRNA. That means elongation initiation factor and also activation of mRNA will influence the interaction between this particular mRNA and also this ribosomal subunit. Okay, and eukaryotic elongation factor eukaryotic initiation factor 4F will complex. There will be formation of a eukaryotic initiation factor 4F complex, and this is formed by the association of eukaryotic initiation factors, that is eukaryotic initiation factor 4G, eukaryotic initiation factor 4A, and eukaryotic initiation factor 4E. Okay, so these three forms of initiation complexes or initiation factors will bind to form a eukaryotic initiation factor 4F complex. Okay, and so formed eukaryotic initiation factor 4F, it will bind to the cap position of the mRNA. Okay, it will bind to the cap position of the mRNA. Okay, then this along eukaryotic initiation factor 4A and 4B will bind to mRNA, and this will be transferred to 43S complex for the formation of 48 initiation complex. Okay, these eukaryotic initiation factors 4A and 4B will bind to mRNA, and this will be transferred to 43S complex for the formation of 48S initiation complex. And coming to eukaryotes, the initiation codon AUG is known as
consensus sequence, and in prokaryotes it is called as Shine-Dalgania sequence. Okay, so these are the two interpretations of these particular initiating codons. Okay, that means in eukaryotes it is called as Kozak consensus, and in prokaryotes it is called as Shine-Dalgania sequence. Okay, the next step is formation of ATS initiation complex. So the pre-initiation complex will be converted into initiation complex, ATS initiation complex. Okay, and this 48S initiation complex will bind to 60S subunit, and it possesses of eukaryotic initiation factor 2, eukaryotic initiation factor 5 to forms ATS initiation, and this beginning binding involves hydrolysis of GTP. So this particular so finally ATS initiation complex will be formed with the help of 48S initiation complex binding to 60S subunit. Okay, and this will occur in the presence of eukaryotic initiation factor 2 and eukaryotic initiation factor 5. Okay, finally ATS initiation complex is produced. Okay, if you see the diagram here, you can see the difference between molecular biology of central dogma of molecular biology. Here transcription is occurred, and finally mRNA is produced, and mRNA is converted into a protein by translation process. So the same is shown in the diagram also. And now let's see about elongation. So elongation of translation is nothing but immediately after initiation the same process will be continued to produce sufficient coming to the elongation of in the translation. These ribosomes will elongate the peptide chain by a sequential addition of amino acids, and in elongation, this elongation is a cyclic process involving certain uh, elongation factors, and elongation may be divided into three events, and the first one is binding to amino acid tRNA to A site, peptide bond formation, and translocation. So peptide bond is nothing but the bond which we commonly see between two protein components. Okay, so here elongation will be carried in by following this initiation. So whenever this first codon AUG is initiated for translation, elongation of that particular methionine polypeptide methionine amino acid with different kinds of polypeptides will be observed. Okay, so here what will happen in the elongation, it requires certain elongation factors. Okay, and this elongation is completely achieved in three steps, that is binding of amino acyl tRNA to A site, and peptide bond formation and translocation. Now let's see the first step, that is binding of amino acid tRNA to A site. Binding of amino acid tRNA to A site. The ATS initiation complex contains methionine or methTRNA in P site, and another amino acid tRNA is placed in the A site. So during this on this, if you see ATS initiation complex, it contains mtRNA or methTRNA in the P site, and another amino acid tRNA is placed in the A site. Okay, and this requires proper codon recognition on the mRNA. So and the involvement of elongation factor 1 alpha and GTP is involved. Okay, so in this particular step, that is binding of amino acid tRNA to A site, what happens? ATS initiation complex will be having this A site and P site. In the P site, what happens? With tRNA will be present. Coming to P site, it will contain amino acid tRNA in the A site. Okay. So to see the diagram, you can have a better idea. In the P site, methTRNA is present with the UAC codon, which is a complementary or anticodon of the AUG, and next a normal tRNA, amino acid tRNA is present. Okay, on the A site. Okay. So the required proper codon recognition on the mRNA and the involvement of elongation factor 1 alpha and GTP is seen in this particular step. Okay. If you see this, after what will happen, P site will have the anticodon for first codon, and A site will have another anticodon for the codon in the A site. And what will happen after attachment? Here what will happen? This second amino acid tRNA will enter P site, and the newly upcoming amino acid tRNA will have space on the A site. So in this manner, elongation process will be carried. And here we should also know more about peptide bond formation. Okay, the enzyme peptidyl transferase catalyzes the formation of peptide bond. So here a peptide bond should be formed between these amino acids. Okay, a peptide bond should be formed. So here the enzyme peptidyl transferase catalyzes the peptide bond formation. Okay, and the net result of peptide bond formation is the attachment of the growing peptide chain to tRNA in the A site. Okay, so if you see the net peptide bond formation for the whole process, what we should consider, it is the attachment of the growing peptide chain to tRNA in the A site. Okay, and the next process is translocation. This is the last step in the uh, elongation process. Okay, so these peptide bonds are also formed. After the peptide bond formation, the ribosome moves to the next codon of mRNA. This process is called translocation. So the transfer of this or movement of this ribosome movement of this ribosome is called as translocation. So immediately after formation of peptide bond, this ribosome will move to the next codon of mRNA to again to translate that particular codons with anticodon. Okay, so this translocation basically involves the movement of growing peptide chain from E side to P side. Okay, and translocation requires uh, elongation factor 2 and GTP. Okay, and the next process is termination. Next process is termination. After several cycles, the elongation, after several cycles of elongation, the formation of specific polypeptide molecule, one of the termination signals UAA, UAG, UGA terminates the growing polypeptide chain. So, by the several circles of elongation, the and also the formation of specific polypeptide molecule, there will be termination signals or termination codons like UAA, UAG and UGA, and immediately after presence of this triplet codons, termination codons, immediately this polypeptide chain will be terminated. So a releasing factor in ERF recognizes the stop signal in presence of ERF GTP complex. Okay, and a H2O molecule is added instead of amino acids. Okay, water molecule will be added instead of amino acid, and this hydrolysis releases the protein and tRNA from the P side. So this is about translation. Okay, this is about translation. We'll see these post translational modifications of proteins. That means after formation of the polypeptide or after termination of this polypeptide chain, few uh, modification should be done to the producer protein to make it an express form. Okay, so to make it a activative form, few uh, translational modification should be carried. Okay, so these translational modifications we'll see in the next class. Okay, so in this class what we discussed: translation, initiation, in translation, initiation, elongation and termination. Okay, so while listening to the class, please keep the material which is provided for you with you, and also if you have any doubts, please contact me. Thank you, students. Thank you.